Hello, babies. How are we? Welcome back to day 2, episode 2 of the show. Listen, I hope you really got a lot out of day 1, episode 1. Today, we're going to be diving into more of the diamond frequency through the lens of the 5 power codes. These are really important for anyone who wants to feel like they are owning their own power and building from that power momentum or velocity. This is where we get to start taking action faster, making decisions faster, recovering from shadow, recovering from the difficulty sometimes of running a business so much faster. And you literally stay on plane, whereas other people who do not understand the mechanics of power, the energetics of power, will sink into the moment more. They sort of feel like heavy. There's a sluggishness to them. And perhaps you've even felt that way, where you're like, I don't feel like I have momentum. I felt it before. I felt happiness. I felt joy. I felt like I was making decisions faster. I wasn't comparing myself to other people. Those are all signs you're in your power flow is what I call it. So when you're in your power flow, or you are really referencing yourself for all decisions, you are what I call the principle of power. Why is this important? So many women that I work with start off on the journey, and this is why they come to me, because they see me consistently doing what I want. I don't look to anyone else and go, is this a good idea? I am very attuned to my own diamond frequency, my own authenticity. Make sure you go back and watch episode 1 to know what the diamond frequency is and the origin story, because everything we do from here on out is all going to reference what you already know. So stop. If you haven't watched episode 1, go back, please, because it's going to make all of this click on such a deeper level. Comparing myself to someone else, I know only breaks my own heart. Comparing yourself to someone else is what cuts your life force energy down so much. We don't want any of that. We want to feel like, okay, I might be a little bit nervous right now to take action, but I know where this came from. It came from source, the divine, God. It also came as a request from the collective. I picked up on that because I was inside of and always taking action from my own diamond frequency. Remember, it's like attuning to your own unique radio channel. It's not going to sound, look, feel, present like anything else you've ever known. So we do need some level of bravery here, because it is quite scary to get out there and put yourself out there completely from your own frequency. It just is. You're going to be tested to show up in your power as your principle of power. And I'm going to explain what that means in just a moment, consistently. So this is where I generated and channeled these 5 power codes so that you can understand what power truly is and utilize it, wield it, emphasize it, practice it, devote yourself to it so that you can consistently know and reference your own internal point of power. Let's talk about what the principle of power actually is. When we say we want to be in a state of complete authenticity, what that really is saying is that we're no longer referencing external circumstances or people to tell us what move to make or which direction to go in. We are instead internally using our own compass, our own frequency, our own North Star to determine, do I go forward with this or not? How do I show up? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? Okay. That's the difference. Referencing yourself as a source of your own knowing and power is referencing your principle of power. The word principle means the system, the values that are in place for you to check yourself against. That's why we have principles. But usually we think of a principal of a school, but that's what the principal's job is, right? Is to like uphold the standards of that school and to discipline accordingly, to bring people back on path, to reward appropriately, to make sure that the budget is being allocated and spent correctly, all of the things. The principal holds everyone to the code. You are your own principal as well. You have codes, you have power, you have scruples and values that are inside of you that we need to make sure not from someone else's frequency. Most of us, most of the time, are using not our own diamond frequency, we're using someone else's frequency. And so therefore we're referencing them as our point of power or principle of power. So we're using someone else's principles, someone else's code, someone else's values to determine whether or not we should take action in a specific way and show up in a specific way in our life and our business. Yikes. That's the reason we're not able to have longevity and legacy in some of our programs that we're bringing forward. Or that's the reason why you might show up big 1 month and then you're cowering, freaked out because you're really not seeing that consistency. And I'm here. This is me. I'm not going anywhere. The power codes are the answer to that issue. Once you understand that you are the thing you need to be referencing. You are the internal guru. You are the internal teacher. You are the principal. You are the one that holds the codes and no one else. Once you get that and you consistently reference yourself, you will never make mistakes, because even if something doesn't pan out, it's not a mistake. It just means that either that moment wasn't ready for you or that person wasn't ready for you, but you're never a mistake. So the principle of power is the point inside of us that we reference to then dial into the frequency of us. It's a nestling in, it's a sitting in of the throne. If you're in your comfort zone, you're running off of a paradigm, which is probably someone else's principle of power. That's the truth. So the only time we can really be sure that we are running from our own principles is if we interact with and encounter our own principles to begin with, write them down, and then reference them consistently. So the work really is clearing out the voice of anyone else, the old principle even of you, but just of your past younger self. That stuff's all great, but is this really what I need to be attuning to right now at this stage in my life? Probably not. So the first act is clear away in order to listen. Then from that listening, we start to evoke and bring about our own natural power. And here's the beauty, guys. When you do this work, your power is stable and neutralized. Some people get a dose of their power and it actually freaks them out. And I've had this happen to women in my programs before, where they actually see what's possible and they feel what's possible. And then immediately, almost on that same call, a Zoom call, or a couple days later, they will have every excuse in the book why they can't do it. And it's because what happens is that we actually taste what's possible for us. The energy and the body tastes it well before the mind is ready. And if we're not in our own power, if we're not consistently neutralizing our power, meaning the power isn't the big deal, but you that hold it is. The ideas, the concept, everything that you want to do in the world, that's not the big deal. The big deal is that it chose you to do it. That's the only reason you're having that vision. That's the only reason you have that desire. Do you understand that? Do you feel that? The only reason you have that desire and that feeling is because you've been chosen to carry it through in this lifetime. So the power doesn't lie with our ideas. The power doesn't lie with future forecasting of what we want. The power lies with the person who saw it, you. We need to start neutralizing our power. Neutralizing our power means that we understand that we've been chosen for this mission. We understand that it is our divine assignment to carry out this mission. And so there's no becoming anyone. Instead, there's a settling back with ease and gratitude that, okay, I actually get to do this right now. So freaking cool. Thank you. That is when we actually are in and we occupy our principle of power. And it is the reference point, is the locus that we tether to. And from there, we get to experience our power flow, not the powerful, but the power flow. The power flow is made up of these 5 power codes. And these are the codes that help you understand what your power is doing to you. It helps you understand the transformations that's about to take place. It helps you understand the beauty of your power. Instead of it being something that is used to dominate or overcome people, it is what you use to surrender into. These 5 power codes help you harness and love and embrace and celebrate the power that you are. It is your most natural state. So let's get into these power codes. So first and foremost, the 5 power codes, each letter of power stands for something. It's an acronym. So the first is potency. And the key principle here is the potency is you. When you are in your authentic power, when you are referencing your own authentic knowing and truth, you are consistently in your power. And that makes you a very potent entity to work with and deal with. Your potency is like a little secret that you know about and that you consistently nurture every single day. It's attractive too. Your potency is what makes someone like a bee to honey, like a moth to flame. It makes someone just like, oh my God, whatever she's selling, I'm in. I got to get in on this because it's just so potent. It has a scent to it that draws people in. And this is where we start with power, potency, because we don't want to be wishy-washy. That's the opposite of potent. When you're wishy-washy or in split energy, you're going to try to speak to everyone, not just your ideal client. And when you try to speak to everyone, your messaging is like, hey guys, hey you all. Hey guys, just wanted to let you know. So here's what I wanted to talk to you about today. No, when you're potent, you're like, are you ready to make millions of dollars? Are you ready to blow up imposter syndrome? Here's 2 things you need to know about copywriting. Did you know the human design's like you come in with the potency, you come in without a hiccup or an apology in your throat and you just go for it. That's what's really important to understand here about potency. And again, it's that little secret that you have that everyone wants in on. Like how'd she get so potent? How'd she get so powerful? Why am I so damn attracted to her? What does she know that I don't know? And this is what attracts in your dream clients. Potency is also where we experience shortcuts, is where we experience leaps. All of a sudden you're potent, you're in your flow. And so you can get more done and it feels like you did less. It's also where we start quickly seeing, yes, I want that. No, I don't want that. And we're actually more discerning when we're in our potency. And we switch from overthinking and overanalyzing into quicker decision making. And so this is where, and this is because potency isn't a thing you do. It is a mindset. It is a lifestyle. It's a frequency that you attune to, your potency. Now we move into O. O stands for opulence. Opulence is the luxurious energy and frequency that she carries when she is in her power, when she is referencing her principle of power and sitting in that throne. It is a place of free time. It is a place of discernment. Her opulency is a place of truthfulness and love, overflow, relaxation, free time, abundance mindset, no more scarcity mindset. And it's from this place of opulence that she takes action from. She releases this thinking that I can only become powerful and opulent and live in this beautiful high vibe, overflow place once people and money have shown up. No, she's moving first. Before the people, before the money, before the likes, the follows, the shares, she shows up in her opulence. It's like she places the crown right on her head. This is the place she operates from. It doesn't need the external validation anymore. Now, this is where it gets so amazing. She is dripping in opulence. She is dripping in, I know who I am. And this is what switches her from, I need to prove to you and I need to beg for you to be in, to, I don't prove and I don't beg. I am who I am. And my programs speak for themselves. My price is my price. My people talk for me. My programs are constantly selling for me, even when I'm resting. This is that energy of moving from maiden into queen. And this is a critical step. This doesn't mean that she isn't human. So a woman in her opulence is going to feel shadow at times. But the difference here is the woman who's in her power flow, who is referencing her principle of power, is someone who sees the shadow and goes, thank you for showing up and reminding me of the opposite, the law of opposites. As soon as I see what I don't want, feel what I don't want, I'm reminded of what I do want and I say thank you. Then we move on to W. W for womb, like the actual womb. But we move past the organs of creation here. We move into the energy of the womb itself, the energy of creation, the energy of birth, the energy of bringing forward ideas into this world. This is also a knowing that you are never cut off from the one that brought you into the world. Yes, your parents, but ultimately the miracle of life itself that came from God, the source, the creator. creator. So we are never cut off from that energy. We are always, when we're in our womb element, in our womb energy, we are always recognizing and knowing that we are safe, we are sovereign, we are in our queen energy, and we are always connected to that which is our higher consciousness and the higher being itself, God, the divine, and source. We're never cut off from that. And so we create from our womb. We create from this power of knowing that we are always channeling with God, and also that we are a source, a mirror image of God itself. So therefore, our energy takes into play this creation process, and we birth ideas into existence, knowing that they are divinely anointed. The womb energy here carries the codes of creation and innovation, and this helps us to release imitation. Womb energy is pure, pure authenticity. Now, E is entrainment, and entrainment probably isn't a word that you hear a lot, but to remind you of what it means, it is when biologically and energetically things sync up. So we've seen entrainment all the time with examples of if there's a bunch of cuckoo clocks on the wall or clocks that have a pendulum, all of a sudden, they're out of sync with each other. But then there is this moment where it's like, okay, like they're just whoop, just for a second, they're together, and then they move out of entrainment. Or if you live out in the country where there's not a lot of ambient light like I do, in the summertime, you look out in the backyard and there's nothing but glowing firefly butts everywhere. It's so awesome. And they are all asynchronous, right? But there is a moment where they all entrain and their butts glow all at the same time. And we see this also with menstrual cycles, with women too, who live together in close proximity and see each other all the time. There is an entrainment even of the ovulation cycle. How does this relate to your principle of power? And how does this relate to the diamond frequency? Well, we want to be aware of that at all points, people are entraining to us. And so there is a call to an energetic responsibility. Do you understand that by being yourself, you are naturally calling in, training people to your energy? That's a responsibility, right? That can wake you up to, well, then obviously I want to live more in integrity. I want to live more as a role model. I want to live more in my opulence, in my womb, and in my power all together, because I want to have the best effect on people in the world because they are a training to you. The flip side of this is, are you aware of what you're entraining yourself to? Who are the people in your life that just need to go? Who are the people that are just like, every time I'm around them, I feel awful, or I'm doubting myself, or I'm suddenly like aroused or stimulated in an awkward way that I don't want to be. It's taking me away from my power. Those are people you're training yourself to, that you now have the decision to say goodbye to, and you need to. But above all, the power woman, the powerhouse woman who is involved deeply in her own diamond code devotion, her own diamond frequency devotion, is in training to herself. She is in training. She is consistently referencing her own principle of power. She's sitting back in her own divine throne. She is opening herself up through embodiment practices, breathwork, meditation, and onward to be a channel with Source God, the divine. She is always referencing herself in a training and practicing that. It takes a little bit of time to actually feel yourself, because we're so practiced at feeling like everyone else in the world. So after some time, you suddenly boop, and you're really in, I would say, the practice of the diamond frequency. Entrainment is what we're actually doing when we're trying to tune into and find the station, if you will, listening to, of our own self. That's entrainment. That's what you're entraining to. So we have to be aware people are entraining to us. There's a moral elevation. There's a energetic responsibility with that. There's the entrainment of the shadow side. Who am I entraining to? What? This isn't me. This isn't healthy. No, thank you. And there's also the woman herself, who is the diamond frequency. She is the diamond. Now she needs to find her frequency in training to yourself. And finally, we have the R in power, which stands for reverence. Reverence means deep love and respect for something. The woman in her own diamond frequency, the woman in her principle of power, is aware of the sacredness of all things around her. And she is enraptured and enchanted by this. And she cultivates this through her daily rituals and her mindset practices to really remind herself daily of the sacredness of life and to bring about a feeling of gratitude and reverence in her whole heart, in her whole beingness. She intentionally connects with the impermanence of life and the impermanence of moments. She connects with the cycle of birth, sustaining of life and death. She is in awe of all magical things and moments. She is aware of the large scale of the cosmos and letting that blow her mind and the intricate details of the nanoparticles and everything in between. She is one with the consciousness of the great consciousness and shows up through that awareness. She is a walking prayer of respect and love for this great existence. Everything she comes into contact with, there's a sense of love and respect as she carries that seed of reverence in her wherever she goes, before she goes live on Zoom, before she shows up at coffee connections and meetups with people, before she teaches. She taps into the frequency of reverence. This is a cool connection because this is going to affect how you sell, believe it or not, because everyone that buys, so once you're in the seed, once you're referencing reverence, everything you create is going to contain that energy. So it's where you start from. It's the blank canvas that holds the potential. Then when you create a program or you go live, that moment contains the reverence that is felt by other human beings. So when they exchange with you energetically with time, attention, trust, love, or money, they're receiving something back from you that contains that potency, that reverence, that seed. And so money is now being exchanged through this channel of love, of reverence, of respect for the world. And this is what also at the same time not only helps elevates your offerings and makes it easier to sell, because who wouldn't want to exchange money through that channel? At the same time, you're also healing the energy of money on this planet, which I believe is the job of a soul-powered business babe, 100%. So let me ask you, how much more would you show up right now in your life, in your business, and be in the exchange of money, be willing to be in the exchange of money more if you brought in this understanding of reverence? So we'll end there with the power code. That's all 5 of them. POWER. What do you think about them? I would love to know. Drop a comment below. Which one speaks to you the most right now? Which one feels like, that's the doorway. I felt it when I heard it. I need to work on that more. Or, man, I just never heard that before. That's really important to understand here. What feels like this is the next level for me? I would love to read below in the comments. All right, guys. So tomorrow, Day 3, episode 3, we're going to be talking about the diamond mindset. And this is all about covering the ground of what the season of development is. Season of development is really how we get through challenge. It's how we reframe our relationship to challenge so we don't bail on major projects and purpose that we are here being called upon to deliver into this world. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Like, subscribe, do all the things, share it with someone who you love, who you think might benefit from this. I appreciate that. And I'll see you with episode 3.